reason why this podcast sucks and we have no fans is because Rick and damn Duper talk way too goddamn much.
America. Can I put my hat back on? I'm just curious. It's been over my heart. Just like America in my heart. Welcome, everybody. It's the election special. We got a fun show. We actually have been planning this for a while. We're going to go through a whole bunch of topics where we finally talk a little politics, which we have not done on this show. We actually try to avoid it only because we're all so different, and why divide when we can all talk about stupid shit like 40-pound dildos. So it's a good time. We're gonna go through it and really enjoy it. Really interesting talk today, though. We are all doing our best to try and keep it a little unbiased. Of course, everybody kind of knows that everybody leans somewhere, but in the end, I hope you just see that we are not a divided group, and we all love each other as human beings above everything else. You are brought today, this Take Warning special, by Mr. Rick, Greg, and Duper. We're missing Josh, though. Hey, Dupe, where's Josh?
Yeah, he sent me a text message. He said he's on a campaign trail with a Mr. Yeezy. I don't know who Mr. Yeezy is.
Mr. Yeezy.
Yeezy.
Here it comes.
I'm not sure. I don't think I know who that person is because I did not see him on the ballot. So.
Oh yeah, well he's on the California ballot, so I know who we're talking about here.
As Yeezy?
Yeah. Well, actually, I think it's under Kanye West.
So, I know who Kanye West is.
Yeah. But we go by Yeezy when he's running.
Yeezy?
Yeezy.
So that
Yeezy?
the Y becomes a G?
Yeah, Yeezy. I don't know. Fuck it. Whatever. Who are we not sponsored by this week?
Freedom. It's brought to you by America.
Nice. That was it.
That's it.
There it is. Oh, nice. How was your week?
It's been tough, man. We've been potty training my daughter. She's 2, and so we've had our ups and downs. So we got pee spots all throughout the house. It's good. It's fun.
You make it sound like she's like a puppy or something like that. Like, I just got pee all over the place and
yeah, like you really don't want to rub her nose in it. It's not a good look as a parent.
Oh man. Well, while we're talking about this, Greg is going to jump out and jump back in because he apparently is having audio issues. That seems to be the story of our life lately. So yay, internet. Thank you so much. This is a fun technical difficulty. So I'm going to tell you about my week. That's going to be it. It was Halloween, man. We had our first socially distant Halloween, or as best you can do. Had a family come in, or went to another family's house, barbecued outside on a fire pit, and we got a shit ton of candy, put it into a bunch of eggs, turned off the lights in the house where it's pitch black, gave them some glow necklaces, and they had to do a hunt. Seemed to work out for everybody. I think they were comfortable with it. Definitely not like your normal Halloween. And then, of course, the only pictures I got with my wife, because we did this for the first time in our relationship, we did a partner, like a couple's costume. I was missing one key component. I went as Bob from Bob's Burgers, and I didn't have an apron on. And that's the pictures you have. So now instead you just see Rick with a fake mustache and a white t-shirt, and then Linda Belcher. Best thing in the world. Really excited.
At your non-socially distanced meat party.
Halloween party,
Yeah.
Yep.
It was a meat party. It was definitely a meat party. Plant-based diets and then meats don't blend well. So
how many people were at your COVID party, Rick?
At least 40.
At least 40. Did Newsom come and break it up or no? Because I heard he was like gangbusters out there. He was actually showing up at people's houses himself.
He doesn't go into red counties, so he stayed away from us.
He's too pretty.
Yeah. And he's like, no, fuck that.
He was watching you with a drone, though. You know. like dropping
I'll get a
leaflets about
ticket.
social distancing.
I'm gonna get a ticket sometime in the next couple weeks. That'll be
I
my
so
fine.
hope so. I so fucking hope so, dude. Please post that shit on Facebook because I will fucking lose my shit.
Greg,
Greg, how are you,
Oh
buddy?
my god, it's fantastic. I can hear both of you now. I totally did not know where Josh was, but I heard Wheezy, so we'll just go with that on my end. But it was good, man. Well, kind of good. So my garage just totally took a shit on me, right? So
Again?
yeah, dude. So we know this company, and dude, it's an old garage, man. I think the garage is like 25 years old, and the rails and everything are all messed up. And so we called this dude, who awesome guy, by the way. And he came, and with that, he fixed it, and then it just broke again. And then I was like, dude, fuck this. I was like, how much is a new garage door gonna cost? And he's like, probably about like $1,000, and I'll redo everything and reinforce everything, because everything's being drilled into the drywall right now, which is part of the problem. But he says he's gonna redo it. So yeah, a couple paychecks down the road will do that. But my wife has literally been scared shitless because we have a fucking mouse running around this house. And I don't know where the fuck it is. And it only makes an appearance when I am not at home. So like today, the wife has been calling me, freaking me out. Oh my God, the mouse! It's like stalking her, but I can't find it to catch it. So yeah, I don't know what to do,
Put a trap out?
Dude, nothing's working, bro. I don't know where this fucker is. We got traps all over the house, So I'm just
With
like,
what are you baiting him with?
peanut butter, mostly peanut butter, some cheese, stuff like that.
You should have used the blood of his enemies.
And the lamentations of the women.
So we're gonna start going through this. We basically have a few topics. I'm gonna kick it off, and really it's just something for us to talk about. We'll try not to take too long on each topic, but it's all pertaining to this current election and what's happening. You guys are gonna be hearing this right as voting has gone through, and we're finding out results, and we're seeing where the country's headed. Yay, it's over. That's the big thing, right? Because we don't have to talk about that for a little while, hopefully. But here's my first question. I put this one out to the group, and I just wanted to see what they thought. Because we're in two different states, in California and Nevada. What was the most important state ballot measure to you locally? That's what I wanted to look at locally.
Dude, I guess I'll start. So I had to grab my ballot because I couldn't fucking remember all of them. But I think this is like the first time that I saw a ballot, and I was like, dude, Nevada doesn't do this already? Like, what the fuck, So like, it's hard to pick, man, because there was one that, discussed renewable energy, by 2030 being at 50% of all of our electricity in Nevada being from renewable energy. There was one about, marriage rights for not straight couples. There was another one in there about voting rights. So there you go.
Could you just say gay marriage?
Yes. No.
Why did you go
hold on.
that route?
Let me read it. Hold on. Let me find it.
Fuck.
Okay, great.
So-
What was the important ballot for you? What was your question?
Yeah, because he's reading off the ballot now, and we need to curb that now.
No, like I don't need to hear the entire questionnaire.
No,
of
what
the
I'm saying
Nevada.
is that this is the first time ever where I didn't think it was just one as the most important. I was like, wow, I think they're all important,
So from the three you read off, including gay marriage, is what we would say there.
Yes.
What was the most important of those three to you?
Well, there's also one for
Jesus Christ! Oh my God, damn it!
Right,
This is
so,
already gone to
yeah.
shit.
Well, I'm waiting for Analytical Duper to like specifically like break down each one and provide like 15 different news sources for
No.
yay and nay.
Duper's gonna tell you.
Yeah.
Duper's gonna come out and he's gonna tell you his most important state ballot measure. That's how this was working. That's how it works. So go ahead.
What?
All right, Dupe, what do you got?
Holy shit!
I was waiting for Duper.
Greg is just so lost in all of these different ballot measures. Mine was question number 2 in Nevada. I'm surprised. I was surprised to see same-sex marriage on the ballot here in Nevada. And it's kind of a win-win. So it's already illegal here in Nevada because it's a federal thing. So what it is adding protecting same-sex marriage under the Nevada Constitution. And what I also found interesting as I read more about it was that it was a win-win for both the left and the right. The new language makes it so then religious organizations and members of the church have the right to refuse to perform a marriage, but then it also protects gay rights at the same time. So it's kind of a win-win. I think it's a great balance. Kind of gives everybody what they want in that situation. So
Well, hopefully it passes. Then that's just smart. Anything for equality, right? Like,
the
to
funny
me,
thing about it, the hard thing about that one was the way that they worded it. So I know it would pass if it was just worded right, but they kind of made it into a double negative, which kind of made it hard to read as to how you should vote for it. So hopefully people will read it carefully.
that that's actually going to lead into mine. The last election I voted, there was a ballot, and it was actually for, I think it was for marijuana or against marijuana, but they worded them identically. And if you wouldn't have sat there and read and sat back for a second
Mm-hmm.
and looked at what you were voting for, you were probably going to vote no on both because it was confusing. It's like, why are you showing it to me twice? That's essentially what it looked like. Um, that caused such a problem. It turned out that it had something to do with the way unions wanted to run the marijuana industry in California. So this time around, mine was Proposition 23. You were basically voting to say that dialysis clinics have to have a doctor on site at all times while performing dialysis. So not just nurses, everybody else, but you have to have an actual physician there at all times, which was going to drive up the costs. It was going to wind up closing a lot of dialysis clinics because you now have to, basically, you're going to have to make dialysis centers to where you can have a doctor on staff, 18 hours a day, because those dialysis clinics do run quite a lot. I did a little digging, and it turns out this is all just a dispute between the unions and the dialysis clinics. And for them to get a new CBA passed, they went to the ballot with a requirement that, of course, if you read it, you're like, of course, why wouldn't I want a doctor there? But then you start looking at what they're doing. They want the doctor there because then that would force every employee to join their union, because there are a lot of dialysis clinics that don't have that. So now we're actually fucking with people's lives so the union can try and win a CBA. That's why this was the most important to me to vote no on. I don't know.
Greg, did you read all 46 different questions? There's actually only 5.
Dude, I really like question 5. There is no question 5. But I guess in the overall sense, I think I agree with you on state question 2. But all the rest of them are, I think, good choices, and they should have been fucking common sense from day one. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
I felt like ours here in Nevada were very common sense ones this time around. It was pretty simple.
Yeah.
That's easy. That's good. I heard you guys had a lot of judges to vote for. I didn't have to vote for a single judge this time around.
Well, that's because there's no law in California besides Newsom,
right?
Shots fired! Shots fired! I am the law. You don't give a shit about no judge.
Fuck your Disneyland.
What is the biggest priority affecting your pick for president, in your opinion? And then secondly, in your opinion, what would be the perfect candidate to lead this country? Rick, you go.
So my biggest priority affecting my decision to pick president, the president, it's just this past year. Everything in this past year is actually driving a lot of my decision right now. The first 3 years, yeah, you could be like, well, I didn't like this, I didn't like that, whatever side you're on. But this last year was huge. Not just the pandemic, but with equal rights. Dealing with a lot of equality issues, and we talked about a lot this year. There was conversation started, systemic racism, maybe societal changes. We talked about Congress and the Supreme Court. All this stuff happened in this 1 year, in 10 months. Everything that happened there is what forced my opinion. Like, how was it handled? Was I comfortable with it? Is there some way I want to see this direction moving? That's what drove my pick.
So you feel, because we'll get to the Supreme Court thing later on, but you feel like systemic racism just came up this year? You don't feel like that was something that had been addressed or kind of boiling for a long time?
It's been boiling for a long time, and I think this year, because of, you got to look at it, it was like the perfect recipe to see it come to a boiling point, because everybody is home, they're locked down, they're losing their jobs, people are dying, things are happening everywhere. And then something like, and I don't want to get into the BLM, right? Right, but something like George Floyd happens in the middle of all of that. It was already a pressure cooker, and I think that really took it over the line, took it that next step where it was now a good conversation that needed to happen. And based on the reactions that you saw from a lot of different people, including the politicians, which is what we're talking about here, that drove my opinion. Yeah.
Okay. Greg, what do you got, buddy?
So I don't.
And I'm sorry, what was the second part of that question? Is who would be your perfect candidate, Rick?
So I actually wrote it down. A moderate who is fiscally responsible, but also socially a champion for equal rights. Someone who focuses on taking care of everybody, not just their corporate lobbies and those richest folks they're buddies with. And that's on both sides, every politician.
Greg, what do you got?
Okay. So I don't think I have. There's been so much fucking turmoil and change and chaos in these past 4 years, man, that like I don't have a specific priority I'm looking for in what I want in our next president, because no matter who we get, it's just going to be either more volatile or it's just going to be more of your same presidential politics. However, I will answer the second part. The perfect candidate for me is somebody, I just want someone to go up there and be like, fuck you, you're stupid. This doesn't make sense. Fuck your Republican Party. Fuck your Democratic Party, and probably in more professional ways than that. But I want somebody who actually stands up for what they believe in and not what the political party believes in. Like, I think it's okay if you're a Republican and you think a Republican guy is an idiot, that you say, no, he's a fucking idiot. And the same way for the Democratic Party. If people aren't good candidates, then we should get rid of them, which I know we'll talk about term limits later. But I just want somebody who's willing to stand up and not bow down to either political party and just be a good leader for the nation. That's who we need to be. But our problem is that the independent party, I mean, every time you see these guys on a ballot, they're freaking psychos, man. You're like, what the fuck are you talking about? And there's nobody who's ever stood up to be a good independent party candidate, So that's what I would like to see.
Would it have been like Ross Perot was the last candidate to go independent because he didn't get into the party he was running for?
Well, technically, Trump started as an independent and then he went to the Republican Party. Right. But I don't know if we can kind of count that now.
And that's what I would have followed up with your question or your answer with is Trump's base would say he is bucking the system. He is the one that kind of goes against the Republican Party. That's often why you see so much turmoil within his cabinet and within the people around him, is because he is kind of bucking that system. But the way that he does it, when you started off your sentence as just somebody who says fuck the system, fuck everybody, that's kind of the way Trump actually does it. Is just unfortunately not very crafted and not very well thought out at times, and as he kind of says fuck it and kind of goes at it very harshly.
Yeah, but
you don't.
But he's also a big ass megalomaniac, and he's not saying it to make change. He's saying it to bolster his own ticket.
It's personal gain. Yeah. That's what I look at it more. That's my problem. I love anybody that comes in and says fuck this, right? When he was running with the drain the swamp stuff in 2016, great.
God damn it. COVID. You went to that meat party. Get yourself tested.
That was my macho man voice getting back in my throat here because before this. Ooh, yeah, I don't even want to do it.
Do you have your sense of taste or smell, Rick?
Yes. I smell my steak.
Not for long.
So anyway, yeah.
Take the soy sauce packets away from your balls.
No, the thing is he ran that way and it was great, but then the things that he did to buck the system and change things, there's always like a quid pro quo to it. There's always some kind of personal gain, and it's very apparent. I mean, I'm sure, we know every politician has something where they're doing that shit. That's just the way it is. And it sucks. It just sucks. That's what we don't want. But he's very open. I mean, like, holding summits at his hotels or, doing those things like his cabinet is his family or his closest friends, and they might not be the most qualified people. They're just there. All that kind of stuff. It's great to buck the system, but do it smart. That's my thing. That's bottom line on that. What I was thinking.
You run into a tricky position there because we're talking about people who are qualified and not qualified. The only people really that could be determined, qualified to do a lot of these jobs are politicians. And so in order to buck the system, you kind of almost have to bring people from the outside. It's a
Gotcha.
lose-lose. It's not a
Yeah.
win-win. There's not a right way to do it. The problem with Trump is that I would say he came in a little bit too off the cuff. Like he just, not everything he does is always well thought out.
Yeah.
But when it comes to me, my biggest priority affecting the president pick is outside forces, hypocrisy, cancel culture, the weaponizing of COVID, and the big tech influence. So it's not even about the two candidates themselves; it's about all the pieces around them.
Right.
It's disturbing to me that the media is at a war with itself. It's not even politicians used to go at it, right, left and right, and we would have journalists who would sit back and they would say, okay, here's the points from this side, here's the points from that side. Today we have two very biased medias, and they each campaign and they each do it in very dirty tactics. I wish we had a good source somewhere that could actually give us unbiased news on these candidates.
I
think
think
that's the big thing for me.
yeah, and we're going to get to the media. We're going to talk about that towards the end. But that is something that we should discuss, at that point. Yeah. So here's a question for you, and we have the same question, so it's going to reverse back in the same way. Why should we vote for Biden? And not only that, give me your argument for why you should vote for Biden, but what's your biggest fear? So go to the other side of that too. What's your biggest fear if he wins?
I don't think this election is about Biden at all. It's obviously an election about Trump.
But
Um,
why would you vote for Biden?
no, and I'll get there in a second. Because people, I don't think anybody's voting necessarily for Biden. Everybody's voting for Trump or against Trump. But I mean, if a vote for Biden actually calms the divide within our country, I'm for that, right? I want peace in in our culture, and I don't like to see people going at it as hard as they are. I think the biggest things that Biden would bring is he wouldn't retweet shit that he doesn't know about. That's probably Trump's biggest issue is social media, and then he just throws stuff out that he doesn't necessarily research. Biden would have a more structure coming from the White House when it comes to information, and his responses to the media would be more calculated. I think those would be the biggest things from just the way he presents himself overall, day to day. And what's my biggest fear? My biggest fear for both candidates is the same, and that's civil unrest. 3 out of 4 Americans right now are afraid that there's going to be riots in the streets. Washington, D.C. and Beverly Hills is all boarded up already. They're anticipating unrest.
Right.
So without a doubt, that's my biggest thing.
That's
But
funny
him specifically, my biggest thing
Yeah.
is going to be packing the court. I hope he does not pack the court because it's not, and we'll get more into the details later on, but that causes a situation for when the Republicans are back in office. Now it's just going to be a back and forth thing, and then it just becomes a mechanism where the Supreme Court would have no weight moving forward, and that's a
loses
terrible,
its,
terrible idea.
It's going to lose its integrity. I agree with you on that. So we actually, it's funny what you just said about why would we vote for Biden. I actually wrote something that's so similar. A vote for Biden is basically a vote for temperament and character. It's a chance to make the country less divided and hopefully provide a little bit more balanced leadership and working towards a path to a better future. Ending some of these systemic problems that we've been plagued with. My biggest fear for him is there was a lot of things that happened in his administration for 8 years under Obama. A lot of positives, a lot of great things happened. But there were some things that didn't go so well, that we were kind of left holding the bag. And I would hope that he's going to man up on issues that we have. The Supreme Court is actually the perfect example of that. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she could have stood down during the Obama administration, right? And then
Yeah,
you had
Obama had a lunch
Democrat.
with her. He asked her to step down.
Yeah. So, but it didn't happen. And Obama had a chance to get some more judges in. It didn't happen. Understanding the politics of it, I'm hoping that Biden is capable of balancing it, right? It's not about getting it all the way to one side or the other, but trying to find balance, reach across those aisles. But I'm really kind of scared that that's not going to happen. As long as he can try and bring us together, though, I'm on board. That would be why I'd be voting for him. Greg,
Dude,
Your biggest fear?
that's my biggest fear is that he's not
Okay.
going to be able to do that.
Greg, what do you got, buddy?
So I hate this fucking country in making me feel that my vote is not necessarily voting for the best person, but the lesser of two evils. And that's the way I have felt seriously, probably in the past 20 years of presidential elections. And I tend to agree with you. I don't think, I mean, maybe some of the Obama base is probably for Biden because they want Biden, or maybe Harris, to piggyback off that. But yeah, I think majority of people are voting for Biden because they don't want Trump. You know, I mean, with Biden, if he wins, I mean, I do agree with Trump. He's been in there for 47 years. Like, what has changed in the 47 years? Now, granted, yes, he was VP. He wasn't POTUS, but that you can still influence things to make happen, right? And it just seems that politicians are always just going to be politicians. And so that's what I fear. I don't think anything's really going to change. Maybe civil unrest and division will diminish a little bit, but there's a lot of hatred in this country right now, man, and I don't think either candidate is going to change that at all.
And going back, to be fair to the Obama administration, Ferguson happened when Obama was in office, right?
Mhm.
So social unrest has been happening for a long time, and it's been gathering momentum and gathering more momentum. I hope that if Biden takes over, that calms down and there's some big change there. Um, but I don't know if it happens or not. I feel like
Man,
there's a lot of momentum going towards it.
you can see that between Biden and Trump, if you were looking at equal rights and working towards that, I mean, just on a surface level of it, I would think that Biden's going to be the guy to actually make that a focal point of his administration, where Trump is going to be looking at something different. They have different ideologies, right? So you're also, when you vote for Joe Biden, you're looking at voting for equality, equal rights, and more than Trump, right? And not
On the
necessarily saying he won't do it. It's just that would be it would be heavier leaning towards a Biden administration than it would be a Trump administration.
on the surface, it seems that way, but Biden's not been as willing to reach out to the Black community as Trump has recently. Trump's been having these conversations with Black leaders within the community to talk about what he can do, but to improve that situation. He improved the situation with the historically Black community colleges,
Right.
and made it so then they didn't have to come begging for money every year, and just made it 10 years you get the money. I think I don't know. I don't know if either one of them can necessarily just fix it. I don't think either one of them has a wand to just fix this situation.
No, but it's got to be who can make a step forward. And so yeah, Biden was in there for 47 years. So is Mitch McConnell. He's been in forever. He's not doing a great job either. Schumer and Pelosi. There are politicians that are politicians. The big thing is, for when you look at that, Trump's been there for 4 years. Shit's gone downhill. What has gotten better from those things that went downhill? Like, how has he worked to improve it? Because you're actually getting a snapshot of what the next 4 years could be, right? So it is good to talk about that. It's good to talk about how he provided the funding for Black colleges, businesses. He's done a lot of stuff, but one of the points I'd want to make on that is that he's only been doing that in the last 3 months during an election when he needed to get votes.
That's not entirely true.
I mean, show me one that he did 2 years ago. Show me something that he did
I would have to
3 years ago. Yeah, I mean, I can't find anything. I can't think of anything either. He's done a lot of great things, but he's done a lot of great things again for personal gain to win an election. I haven't seen that
Well,
yet. That's my issue.
So the Black community was at historic lows on unemployment. That was before COVID, so that's well before 3 months. That's outside of 7 months, right? So unemployment was at record lows for the minority community, not just Blacks, but then also Hispanics.
Would you could it be argued that he inherited that economy that was already on an upward trend that would have already done that, regardless of who was in
And
office?
and so that's always a tricky thing with economics, right? Is even with Bush and the recession, Bush Jr. There's a lot of pieces to that were the Clinton's administration's fault.
Yep,
But then you can
absolutely.
even go back as far as the Reagan administration and blame a lot of the recession on that. So
Mhm.
economics are always a tricky position to say who's the one that drove it, right? So that's
Yeah.
always a tough one. But we got to get off this one. We're gonna be
Yeah.
on this toilet all day. Is Biden gonna last 4 years, Greg?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, health wise, I think he'll be okay. I mean, dude, if the Department of Justice and Congress couldn't go through with impeaching Trump with the accusations he had, I don't see anything coming off of a laptop that is gonna do that for Biden. So
I'm gonna give you a number here. If he wins the presidency and he's inaugurated, he's going to be the oldest president ever at 78 years old on election day.
So I was looking at it from a health side too. So like, Greg, that's actually a really cool perspective that you're looking at it politically. I'm glad you thought about that.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, you got to think about it, right? Like if he gets president, this is the same. He's going to have access to the same health care that treated Trump when he had COVID and he was out of the hospital.
That's
what,
my
3
actual-
days later? So I
COVID,
can't.
Yes.
COVID and old age are two different
Yeah,
things, right?
But
Like,
I don't see. I mean, you can't tell me that he's not going to continue to have access to the best care possible in this nation. So I don't think
have
he
you
just,
not seen?
unless he just dies one day or gets assassinated. I don't see. I think he could do 8 years, maybe a little bit more, but I think 4 years. I mean, 4 years goes quick, dude. So I think
You guys haven't watched. Like, when was the last time you watched Futurama? Like, that was actually my answer to this. Like, yeah.
I know.
This White House has already cured Trump's, like COVID. The doctors, Trump, like they cured the COVID, so they can just hook him up to all kinds of shit, keep him alive, and they'll do some Futurama style shit. He'll last 4 years, no worries.
No way, 8 years.
No, God, no. That's it.
No,
but you know what?
I don't think he'll last 4 years. And if he does, they're gonna do kind of like what they did in previous administrations. I think it was Roosevelt who was in a wheelchair, and they kind of hit it. I think they would hide how sick he might
Dude, you
be.
cannot hide that in this day and age with the internet and social media and Twitter and leaks and this and that. No way, dude. No way.
No.
So you think? So, I mean, that's another fear. And so if he was, that would put Kamala Harris in the office. And we saw what happened with Gerald Ford. I mean, that's not a good situation. You don't want an unelected official in office. You just don't want
look at the flip side of that too, though. Then that means if Trump doesn't last 4 years, we're gonna have Pence. And to me, from my side, I would prefer.
You look at the two though. Trump, I think, has more energy than I do. That dude is running around five campaigns today. So today's Sunday. He's doing 5 campaigns in one day, or 5 rallies in one day. That's insane. I would be tired after one.
Well,
he's doing.
Let's look at the. But hold on, let's take it back a few years, right? LBJ when he took over for JFK. I mean, do you think LBJ did a good job when he took over? And then obviously he got reelected after that. So clearly the nation thought that he was doing a good job in, the tragedy of the JFK assassination.
There are times, and this is why you pick those officials, because there are going to be times where you need that continuity of operations. That's where I think a bit of this, when people were voting, they were probably thinking, okay, what happens? Do I get stuck with Pence? Do I get stuck with Kamala? Who am I okay with? I don't know. That's a tough one. We might not agree with either one of them, but shit.
I wonder. Well, and that's the problem with both of their vice presidents, is they're the far spectrums of each of their parties, right? So yeah. Pence is very far right, Kamala is very far left, and there's no. And when you get to Trump, even Trump and Biden are more middle than Pence and Kamala, right? They're much more extreme versions of the president nomination.
Truman. What about Truman?
What about Truman?
He ended World War II, and he was a vice president that came in after FDR died.
I don't know. I'd have to fact. I don't know.
Roosevelt, he ran. He won his he ran his turn, right? He won the 4th term, but he died, and Truman took over. And Truman's the one that actually made the decisions on dropping the bomb, how he was going to deal with Germany. He made a lot of really major decisions and led the country out of that.
Yeah.
So I mean, there you go. There's another vice president that I mean, there's a possibility that you could have great leadership there, and it could be the same thing with Pence. I don't know.
Yeah, but
Well,
we're overlooking one thing too, and that's the power of Congress. You know, no president can have full reign if they don't have the backing of Congress. You know, in the House and the Senate. So it all just depends on that too. You know.
Yeah.
So
here's a question.
Yeah.
Since we already asked why should we vote for Biden, I was hoping that we all could take the time, like for both of these candidates, to look for the positives. And why would we? And this is going to be the same question for Trump. Why should we vote for Trump?
I'll get this out of the way, I guess. So, dude, like, okay, I'm actually, and I'm almost afraid to speak on this because I could see my entire family just cutting this segment and like making me a Trump lover. Because I'm not a fan of Trump. I am not.
Here comes the MAGA hat.
However, I really like his performance in the last presidential debate, and I wish he was like that throughout his term, right? I was also hoping that COVID would have humbled him a little bit, but it didn't. You know, he got out of there in a few days. He made some bullshit propaganda video. He's telling old people not to fear it. And it's just like, you know, and I don't know. I mean, a little bit of what you said, Duper, with like how, yes, he does stand up to the establishment somewhat. But I guess if he can evolve, you know, then I wouldn't mind it as much as I do now. So I would just base it just clearly off that last debate, and hoping for the best. But that would be the only reason why I would vote for Trump.
So
what's your biggest fear?
Yeah.
More of the same or even worse, man. You know, Trump has always been about him. You know, he's always been about him. He's always been about stepping on whoever he can to elevate his position. And I can just see more of that, if not more expounding upon that, if it was 4 more years, you know. But it'd be great for me because I could do this for 4 more years. So it's very great for me and my impressions.
Is your biggest fear that you can't do the impression?
Yes.
But when we talk about stepping on people for personal advancement, right? I kind of feel like a lot of politicians do that. I can't actually, off the top of my head, name one politician that doesn't do that. Is he just more transparent about it than other politicians? And that's his
so
issue?
My answer to that is just look in the 4 years how many cabinet positions have not been able to be filled in that 4 years, either because people resign because they can't work for Trump, or just simply he fires them, right? So in my mind, when I see that, I gotta question the president. I mean, even John Bolton, I mean, he's a traitorous fuckstick and he's a piece of shit, but even he quit and, you know, turned coat against Trump. So, and he was his biggest supporter, you know?
Well, you know, and it's a good thing you brought all that up because he just issued an executive order. I don't know if you guys have looked it up. Look up Schedule F. It makes it a lot easier to fire civil servants in higher positions because you have a lot of positions in the administration and that carry over, regardless of who the president is. There's somebody that runs, you know, parts of the FBI. There's people that have these positions. It doesn't matter who the president is. This is their position. Schedule F just eliminated that to make it easier for the administration to fire who they want to fire and put the people they want in. You know, that whole stepping over. So yeah, look up Schedule F. That is actually all over the news.
Oh, and
right
also
now.
Look at how many different press secretaries there have been since he's been in office.
I'm okay with this one.
That's a common thing. That's a very common thing. It's a very stressful job. It's just an impossible job to maintain.
Yeah.
So I think with this administration is more magnified and it gets more attention. But all those positions often change out.
Yeah.
Now with Trump, there is more of a tendency for him to drive more turnover within those situations. But isn't that what you were talking about earlier about bucking the system and kind of looking for change?
Yeah, but it's different when you have people. So you're a manager, right, Dupe? And what would you do if it was constantly, you had to always fire people, or you couldn't find people who wanted to work under you? I would think that would be your fault more than it would be their fault. Like, if you're the president, like if I was the sitting president, I would want a mix of my cabinet to be whoever is best for that position at that time. And hopefully they're made up of different political spectrums, so I get the whole piece of the pie as POTUS, right? But what tends to happen is red is always red, blue is always blue. There's not really a compromise. So when you have all that red not wanting to work for the president, what does that say about him? That means he has to be a pretty shitty leader, right?
Possibly, because I mean that could be that drain in the swamp nonsense too, right? When you have somebody from the outside, they come in, they disrupt the Republican Party. There's a tendency to rebel against that. The same way that you saw from the Democrats a few years ago with Bernie, right? And the more socialist movement. When you have somebody within the system kind of tearing up, the good old boy system, there's going to be resistance to that. Now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I don't have insider information on any of this. But I'm just asking relevant questions.
I mean, I think it's a relevant question. I think it's great, but I also look at who he's putting in certain positions. My best example is going to be the Health and Human Services secretary, Alex Azar.
Mhm.
Do you know what he did before he put Trump there? Like, instead of putting a doctor, a well-respected, somebody from a university, something like that, somebody that is in healthcare, that understands the system from not a capitalist way, he moved Alex Azar in there. Alex Azar, he actually was just a CEO of a major big pharma company. The exact problem that we have with healthcare with big pharma, he takes one of their heads they have a relationship before this, and puts him in charge of our entire fucking health and human services for this country. That to me is a problem. That's not an educated decision. I think that you need to be able to say, I'm going to bring some kind of balanced and thoughtful decision to who's going to make sure that the people in this country are healthy. You know what I should do? I should go to the guy that marked up, and he's famous for this. He's the one that took your insulin and quadrupled the price end over end for a year, to where people are paying 16 times more than they were the year before that. And then, of course, that's when he got the job for Health and Human Services. So that's a problem. And that's the problem that I think that Greg is trying to point out. It's not that he's draining the swamp and getting rid of all these lifetime politicians. Yeah, get rid of them. They aren't doing enough. People need to bring in people with a sharp mind. But then you also need to be able to make a proper decision here. I mean, Dupe, would you tell me right now, if you were looking at this and you know that there's systemic problems with big pharma, there's problems with our entire healthcare industry, you're going to go straight to the people that are propagating the problem? Or are you going to find somebody that actually might look at it from another perspective and say, here's how we can try and fix this?
And that's often my problem with both parties is I don't agree with the direction of either party. If we keep the same people in doing the same shit, we're going to get the same results, right? And so that's what you get with the Biden administration. But then I also agree with you. No, you don't put in fucking big pharma in charge of healthcare.
Yeah.
There's different answers to healthcare, and healthcare is one of those very complicated ones, and I can't even pretend to answer that one. I got answers for immigration, and I got answers for various other topics. This one, I
throw you a
this one
different
is
topic?
way too complicated.
What about Department of Education? Same thing, right? I mean, Betsy DeVos or whatever her name is.
I was actually just going to ask.
Yeah, DeVos. I mean, she came from private institutions and was, making, money hand over fist. I mean, do you want
education is going to be so? These weren't on the ballot for the questions today, so we got to move on.
We got to move fast.
I would love to talk about education. I would love to talk about healthcare in the future because I think that they're very complicated topics that it's going to take a lot more than 2 minutes to talk about.
I agree with you, especially when we get to education.
What do you got on? Right, because I'm very opinionated on that one. Healthcare, I don't have a fix for. Education, I do. I can't. I mean, and
We're
I'm
gonna
not
get to
fucking
that.
running for president, but I have
Yeah.
ideas behind it, right?
All right.
But Rick,
You know
what do you got?
how
Why
about
would you
this?
vote for Trump?
This is what I'm going to do right now. I'm just going to throw this out to anybody listening that's actually hung with us for 30 minutes.
41 minutes.
Whatever.
45.
At this point, anybody that wants to hear that, maybe we will do a side pod that we can actually release separately from our episodes, and we'll actually talk about that shit because that is something that needs to be talked about. It's interesting to hear different perspectives, especially on that. So for me, for why would I vote for Trump? This is actually what I wrote down. He's a radical departure from the status quo. He's made the first step to improve healthcare, which he just did recently, in a meaningful way with the order to have upfront billing. He's also shown that he can work with other countries that we normally would have zero relationships with. And I give him that credit that he has at least opened doors with certain countries that normally it just wouldn't happen. So there's a lot to be said about him being able to come in like that. And I think it's because they're looking at him as an outsider. So they want to talk to him. They don't want to talk to another career politician. That's a huge gain with him. My biggest fear from Trump is that our country can continually divides itself racially and fundamentally, because that's what I'm seeing. We don't talk about why this country's divided. Everybody talks about it. Well, it's just because you don't like Trump or you don't. I think that, and maybe this is just my bold statement to this, but this is how I view it. I view that there are a lot of people that aren't looking at it as just we need Trump to win or we need Biden to win, but they're looking at it like, okay, if Trump wins as a black guy, I'm going to be in a worse way. If Biden wins, I'm losing all that and they, inherent privilege that I didn't even know I had. I'm afraid of losing what I've had my whole life and my family as a white guy, right? So that's what you're going to hear, but they're not saying it. Everybody's trying to be, PC about it, but that's truly what you see. It's a racial and a fundamental divide in our country, and I'm afraid that it's going to continue to push that way. Also, eliminating anything or pushing to eliminate Roe v. Wade, anything with gay marriage rights, because they are
We'll get
threatened
into
now.
that more later.
Yeah,
and
but
we'll talk more
that's
about that
what's it.
later on.
Oh, and one more thing. He
Yeah.
switches from Twitter and evolves to TikTok because now we can see him. I don't want that. So
No.
that was my last. That was my last. Fear.
He's not going to TikTok. He hates TikTok. So you said the medical thing was his first step towards the first step to improve healthcare. I would actually say Obama's pre-existing conditions was the first step to improving healthcare. And this was a good advancement on that as well. And then the outsiders, his ability to work with outsiders, North Korea, Russia, these kind of folks out there. I think that's actually because he doesn't listen to his advisors, which is pros and cons, right? Like there's times to listen to them and there's times not to. George Bush Jr., he said, presidents pretty much don't have any options when they're in the White House. They get their choices from the advisors. They get 3 or 4 folders and they pick one of them, right? It's multiple choice, basically. Trump's kind of bucked that system and he kind of just decides to do whatever the fuck he wants to do. And there's ups and upsides and downsides to that. And one of those upsides is North Korea. I mean, I don't know how we got out of that situation. And that was one of my upsides for Trump, is that I don't know how the fuck that worked, but it did. I have no idea. And then taxes. I much prefer. I don't like either party's tax plans, because I think that the rich does need to pay more in taxes, and I think that the poor need to be better rewarded for their work. But I also would like to see a return to the middle class, and I don't think either party really is fighting to build the middle class, and that's where I think we should be focused on, is getting everybody to that middle class for the most part. And you can have your billionaires and your millionaires, and you can have those folks, but just when it's getting to the point of Argentina, it's no good, right? It shouldn't be so polarized.
What happened to the discussion of a flat tax? That seems to be a very simple.
Are you talking about the Herman Cain 888 or whatever it was?
No.
So that died off with Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz was the in the primaries with Trump in 2016. He was pushing, I think, a 15 or 20% flat tax.
Yeah, it was a 20% flat tax on your income only, so you wouldn't have to pay a sales tax.
At the time, I agreed with it, but in hindsight, I don't. But at the same time, I don't agree with Biden's taxing the rich over in California at 62%. That's a very high tax when you get into the state and federal tax.
So you got to
It's a
look at
lot.
it's not 62. You have to look at the numbers again. The other big thing is that everybody initially said, well, Biden's going to charge, because that's the memes you see on social media right now. 62% your taxes are going up. Everything that he's
Not
doing is for
everybody,
anybody. Yeah, it's anybody over
right?
$400,000, and he's going to get you. It's not
But
necessarily
it depends.
62%, but
So
it's a big
you
chunk.
gotta look at that on these people's net worth, right? So if their net worth is over $400,000,
Yeah,
how much is that is liquid, and how much is that in stocks and bonds and things of that sort? So
right,
if your tax rate is at 62% and most of your money's in investments, that's not fair necessarily, right?
right.
Because that's good that they're actually reinvesting that money into the system and driving our economy.
Yeah.
Now, the people who are sitting on top of their money, those should be taxed at a higher rate. So I think that the tax issue is more complicated than we give it credit to. A flat tax isn't the right answer, but then also 62% for everybody over $400,000 is not the right answer either. You got to kind of get more into the weeds as to where that money is, and is it just stagnant? Is it coming back into the economy and circulating?
Well, I really need to
Um,
see that 62% number, like actually where that number is coming from, and if that's just his tax plan, or is that
no, no,
including
no. It's a
California's?
combination. It's a
Because
combination.
you got to
Yes,
remember that California, they tax like crazy because it's
yes,
California.
and
So
that's why
I would want to see what his plan is to tax people over
it's the
$400,000, not necessarily
combination.
yeah, the combination.
It's the
So
combination of the
that's
taxes.
important to understand too, because a lot of people keep saying that 62% number, but that there are caveats to that. All
Of
right,
course.
let's ask the
Uh-oh.
semi-charged question. Did you get to go, by the way? No, we talked. Never mind. Here's the fun question. This was actually brought up not as a I didn't want this to be an attacking question. It's something that's been asked so many times during this election. I feel like let's just try and answer it as best we can. Is Trump racist?
So I'll be quick on
You
this
get
one.
yeah,
No, as long as he benefits from that relationship.
okay. Dupe, what do you think?
Um, I think that they're both old men, him and Biden. I think that there's always a level of prejudice when you're that old, right? Times change, and sometimes you get left behind on some things. Now, is Trump a racist? No more than Biden is. Trump doesn't do him any favors in the way that he tweets and the words that he uses. But then you have Biden on the other end. He doesn't get as much publication as Trump on the things that he says. But I mean, when you say things like if you ain't black, you you ain't black if you don't vote for me. When you give a eulogy to a KKK Duke, when you say poor kids are just as bright as white kids, these things are also inflammatory, right? The media blows up Trump's a lot more, but that's also because we've seen Trump more, right? So we've seen Trump over the past 4 years. I think Biden in office with his age is also going to have some gaffes over 4 years, and some things will get blown out of proportion. Is it intentional? And I think that they're necessarily white supremacists. I don't. But I also think that the Dems have weaponized race with identity politics. So any
Mhm.
Republican in my lifetime that I can think of, in my adult lifetime, right? Because I'm too old, or I'm not old enough to remember Bush Senior and Reagan because I was a little kid. But I remember thinking that Bush was a racist. I remember thinking that during Katrina, that's all they pushed was how racist he was, and the reason why we didn't have levees and things set up to stop Katrina was because it was going to affect minority communities. The
So
left,
now, because you're saying that,
yeah,
we were discussing this a little bit earlier about the fact that this year, the conversation about systemic racism has been there.
yes,
Does this not speak to that it's apparent that there is systemic racism? Because I'll give you my answer, because we're almost on the same line here. I just said consciously I don't believe he's racist, but just like Biden, they are raised from an era where they were raised to be inherently racist without even knowing it. It's just and it's not an excuse, but that is the era they're from. So
times
it's an
change.
unconscious racism, right? It's just because
It's a
that's where they're
prejudice.
from. Um, but no, but that to me, the fact that I can answer it that way, the fact that you answered it that way, I think that further opens that conversation that we have this year about systemic racism and the lack of equality that's still there.
Yeah, but
That's what you see
do
there.
you think that Biden thinks differently because A, he served under the first black president, and might even be the only black president for years to come. And
What did he
hold
say
on,
about?
hold on. And B, not only did he serve that cabinet for 8 years, but now he's also has a African American vice president. So do you think he thinks of it differently because of those two things right there?
You think he like
N-
changed over a period of
Like
of
he
time?
takes
No,
advantage of
no.
saying, I worked under a black man and now, I picked a black woman as my running mate.
Biden said Obama was articulate for a black man. That's a racist ass statement. Um, because that's insinuating that black men aren't articulate. So, and why does he have Kamala as his VP? Not because he chose her, because he got pressured by the media to say that he was going to nominate a black woman. And then she's really the biggest profile black female that we have in
Yeah,
politics
well,
today.
whatever the
So
reason
he
is,
pushed
I
himself in
mean,
those
look
situations.
at McCain when he hired Palin. It's kind of similar. I mean, not race,
Political,
but
100% political.
yeah, exactly. So, all right.
But I'm going to tell you, when it comes to systemic racism, right, it's way more complicated than the media makes it out to be. And I'll tell you a story. I was talking to a friend of mine, and so her mom, she's been on welfare her entire lifetime, right? And this person I'm talking to, she signed up for healthcare for the first time in her life. And so the reason why it's the first time she's ever had to sign up for healthcare in her life is because her mom's provided her healthcare her entire life. She's been on welfare the entire time. Her mom, African American, her mom had to make choices to stay below a poverty line, a certain amount of income her entire lifetime, so then she could continue to provide for her children. So then her children could have health care. So she made decisions to not take a promotion. She chose decisions not to promote herself. That's a form of systemic racism. Welfare in itself is a form of systemic racism. Welfare needs to be, it's a good program, and I think welfare is good, don't get me wrong, but it needs to be overhauled so then we have incentives for people to actually improve. Because in my situation, if I had to choose between short-term gains, right, because promotions take a long time, right, wealth takes a long time to move up the chain of command. So
Right.
if I'm choosing as a young parent my child's health care or 20 more cents on the dollar, I'm taking my child's healthcare, right? And then that puts you in a situation where you're stuck and you cannot advance because you're choosing your child's health over your personal gain. Healthcare and welfare needs to be overhauled. There needs to be incentives where, okay, you can advance yourself while we don't oppress you at the same time. And that's where both parties miss on this. Is systemic racism is real, yes, but it's not a Republican thing and it's not a Democrat thing. Democrats try to roll out these programs to try to, fight systemic racism when all it's doing is oppressing them. Welfare is a terrible program and it needs to be overhauled so then it actually promotes them to make better decisions, because I would be in that same situation with this person I was talking to. I would have made that same decision as a mom. Is I'm going to take care of my kids
So tell me
if
something.
this is guaranteed.
Tell me something then. Let's wrap up on the systemic racism stuff here. What's your ideal solution? What's your steps to start?
I
Because there's
would
no real
I would
answer to just clean it, right?
maintain the welfare system. I would, but then I would encourage a ladder system. So
No, no, I'm not talking about
if you
welfare.
start, but no,
I'm
if you
talking
start to
about the
make more
whole,
money, no, no, and we're gonna that's where this is. We continue the welfare system, and so you make a little bit more money in if you make more money, you get less welfare, and then all it is a supplement. It's not a
Yeah.
income; it's a supplement to whatever you're making. So
How
then
does
you
that
never
help?
lose that.
How does that help? Because again, systemic racism, like we're talking about for this whole country, that lack of equality. How does that
That's
help
one piece.
anybody? Yeah, exactly. That's one
It's
piece. So
one
I'm talking
very
about what
small
you're. So
piece.
you think the solution would be to start at welfare, though? Is that what you're saying, or are you
No,
saying?
no, no. Systemic racism, and I don't think it's necessarily always just racism, right? I think it's a poor class overall. I think that there's a lot of oppressed people out there who are encouraged to not advance themselves because of our incentives that we put on our society. But there's a lot of systems. The education system needs to be overhauled, and we can go way more into that in a future off podcast.
Yeah.
We can talk about all this on a because it's a very long conversation because it's very complicated. It's not one or two things that
And you
fix
know
it.
what?
It's going to be a
On
multitude
the
of
opposite
things.
end of the spectrum too, you can also add Social Security, another system that needs to be rehauled.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of
absolutely,
course,
absolutely, and
there's
especially who
problems.
can
You're
draw
right.
from it.
There are political there are issues throughout our country and with all of our fundamental systems and establishments, but the big thing that I was trying to focus on there is just that above all of that, underlying this country is built on some form of racism and inequality, and we've had that problem, for a couple hundred years, and we've done great things to make great strides, and people have sacrificed their lives to see us move forward. But now we're at a point where we're saying, okay, look, we did a great job. We did a great job 50 years pushing something. We did a great job 100 years ago pushing for women. Like great, but there's still an underlying problem. And the thing is how do you get something that's so ingrained in this country to go away? Like that's what I like. I rack my brain and I'm like, how do you make it go away? And it's just it's a tough thing. I can't even give you a solution. That's my answer to that one. I don't know. Let's talk Supreme Court. Let's get through that one. Dupe, are you happy with the 6-3 majority of the Supreme Court?
Yes. And so we'll talk about on the next question. We'll talk more about the details as to why, but we haven't seen this court vote yet, right? So we're making a lot of assumptions on ACB, which we don't know about. And then you got to remember, two of these justices are still very, very new within the past 4 years. We don't have enough data. And we don't have enough knowledge as to know how these decisions are going to go between these two. And I think it's fear mongering. Just like, so the right is telling everybody if you vote in Biden, your Second Amendment is gone. It's the same thing on the left with Roe versus Wade. They're telling us that Roe versus Wade is gone. That's not necessarily true. We haven't seen any decisions from this court. Let them make some decisions, and then we should pass.
Why is it becoming a decision again, though? It's already been ruled on. The only reason it's coming back
It's not up for discussion right now,
it's
Rick.
up for right after the election. They're going back.
It's not. Roe versus Wade is not up for argument right now.
Tell you the date because they actually just.
I can tell you it's not. I can confirm that, Rick. The Supreme Court is not ruling against Roe versus Wade.
It is coming back up.
Greg, what do you got?
I was gonna say I'll share my piece. So I've actually been. Who was the last guy that went in there? The drunken party guy. What was his name?
Have enough.
Yeah. So everybody was losing their shit
Frat
about
boy.
him, right? And I don't know, man. I have, and this could be just me. This could be just me being delusional, but I have faith in our Supreme Court that they are going to uphold their oath to the courts and to the law
Yes.
than they are to any political party, right? And then here's the thing too, the Supreme Court, I mean, there is a lot of cases that don't even get presented in front of the court because they just refuse to hear it, right? So I tend to agree with you, Duper. Like, I think that overall they've done a pretty damn good job. Now, obviously, Ruth Bader Ginsburg was also a huge part of that as well. She was obviously one of the most senior, if not the most senior, judge on the court. But I don't know, man. I have more faith in the Supreme Court than I do the U.S. Congress. How about that?
100%. And I just sent you guys some data from the Martin Quinn scores of Supreme Court justices. So I sent you guys out some graphs to kind of, and that's going to more feed into what I have to say next on the next question. But there's no the entire thing right now is fear mongering, Rick. 100%.
Okay, so I just looked it up. There are 5 different positions that are going to be going over. They are actually, 16 abortion cases that they are going to be ruling on or deciding on right after the election, all in line with Roe v. Wade.
I'll give you $100. I'll give you $100 if they overturn Roe versus Wade.
No. I don't want them.
I'll give you $100. I'll give you $100. I'll give you $100. It's an easy bet for me to win. If they don't overturn that by this time next year, you owe me $100.
So what happens when they overturn it in 13 months?
Then I'll go double or nothing at the end of a year.
Okay, what about 14 months?
I'll go double or nothing.
Well, what if it's 15 months?
I'm telling you, Rick, It
Here's
is
my
fear
fucking answer
mongering.
to you about am I happy about a 6-3 majority?
So tell me.
Here's my problem. I am not happy with the 6-3 majority of the Supreme Court because we're talking about a majority of the Supreme Court. You know, the whole point is that the court, and I agree with you guys, they've done it. Kavanaugh actually has ruled pretty fairly. But this, when you're talking about the Supreme Court, you don't talk about political beliefs or political stances.
Nope, you don't.
You should be talking about there are 9 judges.
Yes.
That's what I should be hearing. But
Yes.
on both sides, they're so worried about making sure they get somebody in there that's religious enough that's going to make the right decision on one side, that's going to be more about equal rights and you know, be able to push their agenda. They don't look at the fact that the Supreme Court is there to rule law based as it's written, and it drives me fucking crazy. That's why I'm not happy with it.
And I think, and so we'll move on to the next question.
Yeah.
Does it bother you that members of the Supreme Court are brought in based on their conservative or liberal positions and not their capability to rule law absolutely without bias? Well, let me tell you this, Rick. That's been true with Obama, Bush Sr., and Clinton, but not Jr. or Trump. Okay, and I sent you guys the graph from Martin Quinn's scores of Supreme Court justice rulings. The 2 Trump picks, Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, have been very close to being down the middle in their decisions. Roberts, he was the very first one that Trump said 3 picks.
Who's Martin Quinn? I'm trying to get the stuff up right now.
Okay, so Roberts, I sent it to you guys. I texted to you guys.
Okay.
I sent you the graph. Roberts.
Well, hey, Duper,
Jr.'s
remember that Rick's phone is at least 20 years old, so it may take a few minutes.
Bush Jr.'s pick, Roberts, has downright been down. He's gone left on some decisions. Clarence Thomas, Bush Sr.'s pick, he is as right-leaning as they come. Okay, he's way out there. If it's a right topic, he's voting right. Okay, Alito and Scalia, solid right picks. Again, Bush Sr. picks. So we've seen Bush Sr. he was very biased in his picks. Clinton and Breyer and Kagan and Obama, very left judges. They don't go right. So also more biased picks. Sotomayor has actually been more left than RBG was. Again, another Obama pick. So as of today, Trump didn't make these picks. You know, before he ran, when he was running in 2016, they asked Trump, who are you? There's potentially these seats coming up in the Supreme Justice. What are you going to do? So he commissioned a group to pick his justices, essentially. And then he picked from that list. These lists, the way I see it, is 2 right, 3 left, and Trump's 3 picks. ACB, I going off the tendencies of Kavanaugh and from Gorsuch and their decisions, I'm going to say ACB is similar to those 2. So I'm going to say 3 are true constitutional picks. Roberts is a bit of a wild card. When you drill it down, I think Trump's picks have actually been the most solid picks, and Junior, because you're going to always hear from the right media how Roberts is a leftist justice. He's not. He's just deciding it down the middle for the most part, right? Yeah. So when you really break down how their decisions have been made, it's media bias on both sides, and they're making this into a really big issue. Our justices, in my opinion, are making constitutional judgments outside of Sotomayor and Clarence Thomas.
I mean, I can see it, and that's actually a really good graph. I want to read a little bit more into that study, but it's good. Put it on the pod notes so people can see it. I think it's important that everybody reads that and looks into it. So, do we have anything else to add about the Supreme Court?
Did I win that one? Did I just?
Yeah, dude, I'm not even going to argue you until I read that. But I honestly, it's fair. Just my bottom line on Supreme Court is that it should be fucking by the law. And it shouldn't be about your fucking political beliefs. Bottom line.
Agreed. And ACB, if you watch her confirmation, she talked about that, right? Like, she's not going to make decisions based on her religion, because they kept bringing up her religion.
Yeah.
And she made it very clear that that's not going to be how she makes her decisions.
Right.
And then everybody who talks about ACB says she's one of the smartest people they've ever known, and she finished near the top she finished at the top of her class. She's very accomplished. So hopefully she does actually just follow it. And
I'm telling you right now, I hope I never have to go in front of Congress, Cause that dude, those confirmation hearings are fucking brutal, man. Like, I get it if somebody broke the law and you're fucking grinding some douchebag about a violation, but oh my god, dude, like I felt bad for Kavanaugh. And then
Kavanaugh.
I mean, yeah, granted, he's a party dude, right? So, or a frat dude, whatever.
Frat boy.
But yeah, man, like, like if I were to sit right there, it would take everything within me to be like, not say fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, you know?
I fucking hate frat boys. Kavanaugh is what I hate in life. But if I was Kavanaugh, I would have voted right on every fucking thing. After what they put him through, I would have said, fuck you guys. I don't even fucking need to read this shit. What's Trump's view on it? I'm going with him. But no, he's not. He's actually been very unbiased in his decisions. He's a better human being than I am. And that sucks because he's a frat boy.
He likes beer.
Is there ever going to be a chance in our lifetime that Congress and the Supreme Court will have term limits?
I really hope so. I think that I think our generation is now entering into those levels of government where you'll have that influence, and you can start removing things like the Electoral College, those term limits, those things that are antiquated.
We're not to the Electoral College.
Huh? Well, both.
We're not there yet.
Yeah, we're getting there. Goddamn, we're an hour and 10 minutes in.
It's okay. We knew it was going to go long.
I'm hopeful that it's going to happen. Go ahead.
We can make
Greg.
this into a 2-part episode too, by the way. The magic of editing can do that, just to let you know.
Quit talking.
What do you got? What do you got, Greg?
Dude.
Term limits ever or no?
So, I mean, when SCOTUS, dude, sorry, my dogs are going berserk in the background. So, yes, the Congress
feel really, they like
yeah,
it.
right. I think I would love Congress to get the fuck out after 8 years, just like the max of a president. SCOTUS, I'm okay with. But yeah, Congress, man, get those fucking guys out of there. Nobody should be in government. And
do you think it happens?
Huh? Will it happen? No, not for at least another 20, 30 years. Who knows?
So this is within our lifetime, though.
Yeah,
so
well,
I
at the tail end of my lifetime, I'm fat and obese. I don't know how much time I got, but
that's true.
Yeah.
Well, you survived COVID, so I think you're going to last a long time. I'm not worried about you.
No chance in hell do we see it.
I agree.
Both parties, they want power and they want money. That's it. That's why they're in office. Yeah. And we've already talked about how much they love themselves more than anybody else. There's some systems within our government that is wrong. They should not determine their own wages. They should not determine their own health care. They should not determine their own term limits. Those things should not be determined by themselves. But that's the system that we have, unfortunately. And even the Supreme Court can't overturn that because that's the rule. They rule in favor of that. So you're going to have to convince these people to decide against themselves. That's never going to happen. We're never going to see it. It is what it is. It's a necessary evil within our system. Rick, are you for, or Greg, I already know your answer.
You don't know my answer.
For or against the Electoral College? You already answered in the last one.
No, I didn't. I just said stuff like, I was just saying, I didn't mean to say it. It was a Freudian slip. You don't know what I'm going to say.
No, go ahead, Rick, because you look like you're about to go to sleep right now, so I want you to get it out, buddy.
So close to my bedtime. Are you for or against the Electoral College? I am against it. Currently, there are 15 states with a lower population than the state of California combined that have 28 more representatives in the Senate than California. That's 50% of Congress to the United States, right? 30. That's that total number, 30. 35 states are clearly unrepresented or underrepresented. And nobody talks about that because of, whoever the current majority is, they love it. And it's always always the minority that's like, oh, this sucks. When really we should all be looking at it like, no, it just sucks. Like, fix it. But we should be going by popular vote. Bottom line.
So Senate seats, House seats, and electoral votes are all determined separately. They're not determined the same way in how many you get each of each.
Mm-hmm.
So they're very different in the way that
but they do determine on how many. It is going to determine how many people you have representing you for each state. You only get 2 senators per state, right? So and I look at populace. I think that the populace is more important than having those 2 senators per state for everything. I think you need to be represented by the populace of your state because, unfortunately, that's where the majority.
That's how the House works.
Yeah, it's working great. The whole.
So that's our check and our balance system is that you have multiple pieces of government that are selected different ways, and so that's where it works as a check and a balance within the system. Greg, what do you got on this one?
No, but so okay, if we're just talking about Senate. And you're telling me that it's okay to have 30 senators representing a smaller pocket who would be more right-leaning, talking over or going over anything that might be more left-leaning because the population demands or is dictating that.
But
That's
we're talking
correct.
electoral college. We're not talking about senator seats.
How do you get senators? How are they voted? How is this decision made? The Electoral College. It's not by the popular vote that we get a president. We get it by the Electoral College.
I would love
That's
to
true.
see a poll that if you were to ask people what they thought about the Electoral College, and then 2, where they thought the Electoral College was located, like, I bet you most Americans don't even know what the Electoral College is, and they probably think it's just some party school in Florida.
I really hope that they say Arizona because that's actually where the party schools are.
Both, So
Where's the Electoral College?
I think as we evolve, I think the Electoral College will evolve. And I don't know if it's the popular vote should always get it, Like I said before, I hate that my country puts me in a position to pick the lesser of two evils. I think we need to revamp that. And then you also add the dangers of gerrymandering and all that shit where people are always reevaluating their county lines and their representatives. And then also you got the census. The census is every 10 years. We can't even get fucking majority of the Americans to fucking answer their goddamn census, So yeah, I mean,
You don't need to know about my house.
Yeah, fuck you, you're a government motherfucker. You're like, bitch. Like, how many people live in your household? That's it. Shut the fuck up. Thank you.
All right.
I think you're okay. So we're kind of confusing electoral college and Senate seats because those are separate. But then your representatives, I think, should be within your community. I think it's wrong that you have people who represent your community and they don't live within it. I think that they should have to live within your community to represent your community, and that's it.
I agree.
Electoral college, I don't understand why this is even up for debate. It's important because you would only have the president nominations campaigning in California, Texas, New York, and Florida. Everybody else would not matter. You would not have an opinion. They would fly directly over you because you would have no vote and no say. So you could have serious issues in Kansas, Missouri, and the president wouldn't be made. They wouldn't care necessarily because the popular vote's in California. So we got to go campaign in California. That's the reason why the electoral vote is very important. Do you have faith that the ballot process to include voter suppression and ballot stuffing will be legitimate and accepted by either or both candidates?
Never. And it's not just candidates. I would say both parties, right? Because no matter what party wins, like I guarantee you, if Trump doesn't win, he is going to raise all sorts of hell and all sorts of appeals. And dude, he said in the debates that he would give up that seat willingly and concede. He ain't going to fucking concede. He's going to draw it out for as long as he can. And he
was already positioning, right?
What about JoJo?
Yeah, same thing, right? I think, I don't think Joe would go as far as Trump per se, but I do think that in every election we get this, right? The results are rigged. You had dead people getting ballots, illegal immigrant. You name it, right? So there's never going to be a single system that ever comes out that both sides will agree upon. I'll just leave it at that.
In my state of Nevada, they automatically emailed out.
Nevada, by the way,
our state of Nevada, they sent out ballots to everybody. I got a ballot for somebody who used to live in my house. If I was unethical, I could have filled it out and sent it in very easily because they've also reduced the signature standards here in this state. So I could easily forge that signature as well and send it in. I refuse to do that because it's not ethical. Because I really do feel like I could get away with it. I just don't feel like it's the right thing to do. There's going to be a lot of people out there that don't have that same ethic. I'm telling you that it's going to happen. I can, well, I'm not going to post it online, but I do have the ballot here in the house.
So
Rick, what do you think?
Here's my question. Here's my question for you guys. I'm honestly, again, I'm trying to be hopeful. I think it's going to be as legitimate as it can be on paper. Anytime you do anything paper, it's human error. There's going to be issues. There's going to be unethical people. There's going to be fucking problems everywhere. I feel like, this was political positioning, this conversation, because it is there and it's
Both
been a
sides.
problem, but it's political positioning because we only started talking about it when certain polls were dropping. So
Do you want to
here we
hear a
are.
little
But
bit of
my
intro? I'm
but
going to give
here's
you a
my
little bit of.
question.
Okay.
Here's my question to you. How do we fix it? What's a solution to start fixing it? Just like systemic racism. That's my same question.
They don't want
What's
to
our
fix it.
steps?
They don't want to fix it. They want us to keep
Exactly.
divided, right? So in
Fucking
1960, the
exactly.
JFK versus
Sorry.
1960, JFK and Nixon, they had an election. There were ballots in Chicago and Texas from people that were dead. There were 56 ballots addressed from a single abandoned house. There was a reporter, Earl Mazzo, who reported this story. Nixon urged him not to come out and continue to push this story because it was during the Cold War. And Nixon allegedly, right? Everything's with a grain of salt. It's politics, so you don't know how much is true and how much isn't. Nixon said to step back on it because it would divide the country too much. This time around now, which is kind of crazy because like you always think of Nixon as being disgraced and JFK being so great, right? But so there's voter fraud going back to at least the 60s, and before that, I guarantee it as well,
For
right?
sure.
So when the left says that there's no voter voter fraud, they're wrong. It's a lie. It's an outright lie. But when the right is currently saying that there's no voter suppression, that's also an outside lie, right? Because I sent you guys the text message of the guy running around with a sword telling people to vote for Trump, right? That's not a good idea to do that kind of shit.
With the poll
There was
watchers.
reports of a ballot box in Texas with the ballot box set on fire, right? So depending on how liberal or how red a district might be, that's the box you set on fire. Because now you're losing votes in that way, right? So there's dirty politics on both sides.
Here's my rebuttal to it, right? It happens. I think we can all agree that it happens. There's errors that are made or fraudulent ones that are made. But is it to the extent that it is swaying our election?
This time, yes.
You really think so? I mean, I would.
Okay. So somebody's out there.
Nixon 1960 election was 113,000 votes. 113,000 votes.
Dude, you can't compare 1960 to 2020.
2016, 2016, it was hundreds of thousands of votes that turned that election because we live in an electoral college. So in state by state, a few thousand votes can make a huge difference. So yes, it can turn an election without a doubt.
Okay.
I think that it would be a very, very big operation from either side to do the amount of voter fraud to be able to match. We have 365 million people in this country. Now, this year, we're looking at a record turnout already. As of right now, the news is reporting 90 million have already pre-voted, right? Or voted early. I think it would be, again, it would be a huge undertaking to be able to get all of the ballots that are official ballots, get them hand-filled out to make it look like somebody's frauding you, and then turning those in the appropriate districts without it looking like you didn't just dump off 10,000 votes, you know?
But you think that there's enough voter suppression to affect an election or no?
Same thing. I don't think there is. I honestly, I think that it's there, but I just can't see, you know, some dude standing around with a sword. If I was going to vote and I saw a dude standing over there with a sword and he's like, I'm gonna fucking cut your head off if you don't vote for Trump, I'm just gonna call the cops and walk away and do what I would be more.
I would be more worried about the states and the counties minimizing the amount of election places where people can go vote. You know, because not every place is like Nevada where or even Las Vegas where, I mean, you can't drive a mile without fucking driving past an election place, you know, or a polling place, I should say. So,
and you have that problem. Like Pennsylvania is a great example where people stood in line for like 18 hours, like crazy, man, because there's only one polling station. I mean, we're doing it here. We're opening up the Staples Center as a polling station. Like, so you're telling me I have to drive to the fucking Staples Center to vote if I don't have any other option? Like, that's crazy, dude.
But I can see an evolution, right? So, Real ID, right? I know it's a pain in the ass. It's that one thing that nobody wants to fucking do because they don't want to fucking stay, you know, in the DMV for hours on end. But do you guys know the history of what Real ID is? Because I can give it to you briefly. So, the Real ID Act was something that came out of the 9/11 Commission report. Because the 9/11 terrorists were able to go to multiple DMVs in multiple different states and get driver's licenses. And none of those DMVs, it wasn't mandatory, nor was it required to check each other's systems before giving
Mhm.
somebody a driver's license or an ID. Now that's kind of
Yep.
changed, right? Like, I mean, damn, you need to give like everything but a blood sample now to get a fucking real ID. So I could see a possible evolution of real ID and voting kind of taking place sometime in the future. I don't know when, but do you guys
That's
see
smart.
that?
But that's what Trump actually pushed for in 2016 was IDs at the polling
No,
stations
not
to verify
IDs,
your
just
IDs.
real
He wanted
ID.
he wanted IDs. He wanted your ID to verify that you were the elector.
Yeah, but I could
So
fraud an ID, but the real ID system is much more
it's not going to
intricate.
happen. It's not going to happen because the Democrats don't want it to happen. That's the truth. They don't want it to happen. But that's not fair against the Democrats, right? I think that both sides want there to be questions about the election. So then if their candidate loses, they can go to the courts and try to determine that their candidate wins that way, right? They want to have a backup plan on both sides. So don't it's not that I'm saying that the Democrats are the devil in this situation. I think that they're both playing politics and posturing for a backup plan for their guy when he loses.
Fuck you, politicians.
Twice.
That's it. So here's my question for you. I think that's we got to wrap this up. So, how was the way? This is my question too. So apologies, Duper didn't ask this. How was the way the current leadership handled the pandemic influenced your decisions on the ballot, or had it at all?
It didn't. Not for me, anyway. I already had my
Okay.
mind made up way before our response to COVID ever happened.
Gotcha.
Now, COVID and COVID response is a totally different topic than this, but
That's what we're talking about.
I will
yeah.
just say that I'm not a fan of how we responded. We could have done it a hell of a lot better, but for my vote, it made no difference.
I think the coronavirus is a once in a lifetime event. And so I think it's a complicated response, and I'll give you a complicated response as well. So the Dems have used it to tank the economy. I think that that's indisputable because you look at Michigan, you look at California, you look at New York, harsh lockdowns that try to suppress that economy. I talked to people in the medical field. They're saying that Trump is invalidly saying that people are putting COVID on death certificates. It's not the leading cause of death for a lot of these cases. I've talked to people about this, firsthand accounts.
Why don't you interview him and put him on the show, you asshole?
Yeah, let's talk to somebody.
I talked to so many people, but I won't tell you who they are.
Yeah,
whenever
exactly.
I have a chance to talk to people about these things, I talk to them. I ask them questions. I'm a curious person. I'm a cat, right? So
Pussy.
Pelosi, Como, Feinstein, they all have these do as I say and not as I do philosophies, right? You've seen them without masks. We've seen them going around hugging people, doing all this bullshit. That shit bugs me. Hypocrisy bugs the fuck out of me, right? But then on the flip side, Trump's really downplayed the seriousness of this, right? He should have more public support to wear masks. There should be more public knowledge about social distancing. It really bugs me that people are wearing masks, but then they're within 6 feet of each other. The biggest thing with this whole pandemic is the social distancing, not the mask. It's keeping your distance from other people and not conjugating, right? So I think that there should have been more education from the right, and we should have had info commercials like we did on the war against drugs in the 80s and the 90s. And I text this to you guys. We should have had commercials constantly. Okay, wear a mask. If you're wearing a mask, maintain your distance. These things just constantly reminding us because Biden himself, I saw on a rally the other day, moving his mask up, touching it, moving his mask up, hugging his granddaughter, moving his mask back up. No, you can't keep doing that. You cannot touch your mask that much. That's not okay. And then touching another person, these things, you can't just, the Republicans were wrong in the way that they handled this as well. So I don't think that anybody was right. I think that there needs to be a more balanced way in the way we attack this. There is a report that is actually very attacked right now. A lot of people are not for it, but it's called the Barrington Declaration. And what it is, Greg's smiling. What it is a targeted approach to targeted lockdowns. So for older people,
yeah, but hold on, Dupe.
You would lock them down.
Dupe, you're kind of getting off topic here. Did the way we responded to COVID influence your decision on your ballot?
He got off
just
topic
yes
5
or no
minutes ago.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, there we go. Moving on.
I mean, I love you, buddy, but I
Greg,
just want to
go.
make sure we're,
Yeah.
you know.
Here's the thing,
You're
because
right.
the thing that kind of like you started using a lot of I don't want to say rhetoric, but there's a lot of stuff that's being said and that can't be proven. The Dems tanked the economy. No, a pandemic tanked the economy, because to be honest, if people aren't alive to do the job, then the economy's still going to tank. So the fact that there was any kind of shutdown, as shitty as they were, by the way, that was going to happen. That's the effect of a pandemic, and everybody assuming that, well, it was just all political. Sure,
True.
okay, that's great,
No,
but that's
true.
just
That's
not
why
true.
it's a balance between the two, though, right?
Right.
I
mean, they
think
use
that
it
they
for
are
their
weaponizing
gain.
it, but as to their motives behind it, I mean,
I think that they
You're right.
definitely, you're right. They weaponized it. They had something and they're like, ooh, we have something we can use against him. And that was fucking stupid, because you can't blame Trump that the pandemic is making somebody die. You can blame him for his response. You cannot
yes,
blame,
and that's what my
exactly,
education
right?
piece was.
But
So that what bugs me is that we have Trump on tape, and this is why I'm going to say that this did affect me. We have Trump on tape with what's his name, Wolford or Willoughby or
Bob
whatever the hell,
Woodward,
Bob Woodward.
he actually broke the Nixon thing.
Yeah, so here's the
He
thing
broke
with Woodward.
Watergate.
As much as it bugs me that a reporter holds on to that stuff until the election time, and you don't get that shit out the day that he says that shit on tape, he did say it, and he knew in February that there was a problem. And the way he moved out the people that were on his task force to deal with this, because they were going against the fact that the economy's strong, and we start moving in scientists, instead of getting the scientists that we need, we put in friends that, again, that whole personal gain thing. You put those people, Alex Azars, in there. It really, really hurts how we're going to handle this whole thing. So to me, it affected me heavily how the leadership handled it. They needed to come out with clear guidelines for the whole country instead of blaming the states, because that's an easy
Agreed.
way to do things. Pass the buck.
well,
Like,
hold on.
it's not my fault. Your state sucks.
So,
But
no,
if he would have done that, he would have been called a fascist.
But hold on, Rick. Has
it's a pandemic.
the response influenced your decision on who you voted for?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
So you didn't.
I was on the fence.
You didn't have your mind made up prior
actually,
to
I was
COVID.
never on the fence.
Here's my actual note. Before 2020, I just didn't like Trump as the guy he is, right? I just thought that guy's kind of a piece of shit. I didn't see anything where I couldn't look at the positives and the negatives of the guy and still consider it, because especially when we get people that a candidate that I might not really agree with on the other side, there were things, there were a lot of positives that I could get, and we talked about a little bit of those, right? But here's the difference. Like,
So
this is when I saw his poor leadership. And this is when I feel like, okay, you've affected my decision because of how you're handling this, how people are suffering from these decisions that are, and again, you talked about his transparency. It's very transparent that he's making these decisions for personal gain, to his election, to his, to his administration. And it's not necessarily about what's best for the people. So that is why I say that, yeah, it affected me. I would have had a toss up here, but as Dupe said earlier, it's basically a vote against Trump or vote for Trump election, and I went against it for it.
the worst time for this to ever happen, a pandemic in the United States, is an election year, without a doubt, because there's signaling on both sides. Trump mismanaged this completely. Don't disagree with that. 100. You will never get an argument on me on the other side. But Biden is also weaponizing this. Mm-hmm. You see Biden. When I see Biden and the way that he handles his mask and the way that he handles himself within these groups of people, he is signaling, right? He's not actually understanding what he's talking about. When you actually understand the social distancing, you understand you're not supposed to touch your mask and move it around like he is. It's all posturing. It's political posturing. It's not anything sincere. And I see that on both sides, and it bugs me with COVID, because this should be bigger than politics, and it's not for either side. It's both just a weapon. But I'll go back and question you on you weren't decided. So Charlottesville didn't decide anything. The Steele dossier, the impeachment, Russian collusion, Russiagate, the anonymous article from the New York Times in which a high-level official was saying that there was mismanagement within the administration and causing people to turn on him, who actually turned out to be not a high-level official. Right. The Muslim ban, none of those things.
No, honestly, this is policy. This is honestly policy that's against what I agree with. Now, Charlottesville, you're right. That is a little bit different, and that's why I did not like him. I let me just get that straight. Since the get-go, I have not liked the guy. But if he makes certain policy decisions, just like you would when Junior was in, George Jr. was there, it's not that I'm going to agree with him. I'm just going to eventually, vote for the next best candidate.
So
And
can I add
Biden, by the way, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say. So now that I'm thinking about it, maybe my response and my vote would have went differently if Trump would have handled this right. I will say that.
100%.
Yes,
And
100%.
to kind of piggyback off that, if he would have even been humbled when he got the damn thing and changed a little bit, eating that humble pie, maybe even then, but
COVID.
another thing too, hold on. So another huge thing, right? Don't forget about the government shutdown. That was a battle between him and Congress for over 45 days that federal employees and contractors weren't getting paid. They were furloughed. That's a struggle too, and
But
that
that's
shows.
politics today.
And you know what? Obama had like 5 or 6 in
Yep.
his, and I'm
Yep.
not a fan of that either, right? Because there's one thing you should do as a leader is to make sure the government does not fucking shut down, right? And dude, the government almost shut down again recently, and then they had to do another last minute vote to push it through at the last minute. So there's also that, just to add it to your list, Duper, because all those things obviously had an impact, but
And
also
we were
the government
talking
shutdown.
strictly about the pandemic.
You can blame Pelosi, Schumer, and,
I
and
blame-
McConnell for those issues.
I blame all of them. What
Yeah.
I do,
Oh,
what
yeah.
I do on my laptop right here is every single time there's a government shutdown, I fucking make note of it, of who my officials were during that time. So that way, the next election year that comes around, I go, oh, are these fuckers on this ballot? No, bitch. Like, no, so that's just,
I'll tell you, as a Californian man, and as a lefter leaning moderate, I should be like on Pelosi's side. I have no respect for what
Fuck
she's
her.
done. Yeah, in the same
Fuck
thing,
her.
like McConnell.
couldn't agree more.
That's actually who I hate. Like, I cannot stand McConnell.
I
I
hate the
cannot
both of them.
stand Schumer, Pelosi. These are these career politicians that we keep talking about. Like, go fuck yourselves, dude. Like, you
Pelosi-
aren't doing anything to help us. Like, fuck you guys. I cannot wait to vote against Pelosi, to be honest, because I can't do anything about McConnell or Schumer.
All
But-
political theater for all these people. They're disgusting. The COVID thing, going back to how that affects votes, I think that's where Trump's going to lose the election. If he would have taken COVID seriously, and it's not our age group, right? So Republicans, older people tend to vote Republican, right? So who is COVID affecting the most? Older people. And so they're the highest at risk right now. I don't think Trump did enough for them, and you're going to see people actually turning and voting Democrat, even though typically they would have maybe voted Republican. So you're going to see a larger turnout of senior citizens that would vote for Biden than they would have for Trump in other circumstances.
So what's the question I have for you now is, what's the best case scenario for the country for the next 4 years?
I get a simple one. Aliens take over the world and make us all see how stupid our petty arguments are. That's it.
I actually had a really simple one too. I finally get butt stuff. I hope you're listening, Rachel. In the next 4 years, I'm looking forward to some butt stuff, Rachel. In the next 4 years.
Well, you may get the
Thank
butt
you,
stuff
America.
depending on who's in office. They may serve it to you. You know what? Our best case scenario, or my best case scenario, is that the country doesn't fall into a civil war.
Wait. So
Jesus
the best
Christ.
scenario is not utter destruction. Like anything besides our mutual destruction is good to go for you.
I mean, dude. I guess I gotta simplify it, right? There's so much hate in our land right now that, yeah, man. This can go further south, or we can improve, but that's always my biggest fear. And you guys have heard me say this too. I think to myself, many a moons, the Roman Empire lasted over 1,000 years, right? Our little, nation has only been over like a quarter century, right? I think to myself, like, at the fall of the Roman Empire, or at the many falls of the Roman Empire, did people like me ever sit back in Rome and think like, holy fucking shit, like our land is going to shit? Because that's what I feel like a lot of times, more than not.
It takes time.
Remember, they fell apart when they went to the Senate. So,
And then
So you're saying we need an emperor? Is that what you're saying, Rick?
I mean,
Emperor Solano.
Rick would be so fucking
if we're
happy with that shit, making his
throwing
big
names out there,
Rick would be out there like, motherfuckers, nobody can go to a Halloween party besides Rick and his party. That's it. Fuck everybody else. Fuck your Halloween.
Oh,
Rick's good
fuck
with
you
his.
guys.
Disneyland.
So, all right.
Disneyland closes down permanently.
Since we've already taken up our listeners' hour and 40 minutes of their time,
We'll break it up into a 2-part episode.
We're not. This is going to be
yes.
one continuous fucking
Yes.
episode.
Fuck it.
You guys are idiots.
No.
You-
These guys
Nah,
got this.
I'm
They can
an
listen
idiot.
over a period of time. They can
Yeah.
make it a 2-parter because they love us.
If you don't
Hey,
make
Art,
it to the end, fuck it.
yeah, Art,
who
if you're
fucking
still
cares?
with us, go fuck yourself.
Dude,
That's great.
Everybody's
Go
gonna
for
see.
the regular show.
Everybody's gonna see that it
So-
says 2 hours, and we're not gonna get one listen.
It's
We're gonna get
okay.
so
Who
many
cares? Who
listens.
fucking
All right,
cares?
so Duper, what's your final words on this stuff?
Dude, okay, so no matter who wins, he is my president. I'm so fucking sick of hearing "not my president." Okay, so I hope you guys will all join me in that declaration. No matter who wins, Biden or Trump, even if fucking Biden dies tomorrow and Kamala wins, she's my president, right? We're all Americans. I hope to never hear that term "not my president" again because it's so divisive. If the election dictates that either Biden or Trump wins in a fair election, I'm gonna wish them 100% well. Anything that they do is always going to be in favor of our country. We live in this country. This is our country, and let's unite to guard our liberties in the greatest country in the history of the world. Without a doubt, this is the greatest country to have ever existed. We got to protect it. We can't do that being so divisive.
Good, Greg.
My only rebuttal to you, Duper, is, and it makes me go back to my army days. You respect the rank, not the man, right? So I am all about respecting the office of the president of the United States of America, but that doesn't necessarily mean I got to respect the man. So that's what I always think about, right? When it comes to that type of stuff. But yeah, I hope it's a fair election. I hope that we can get through it quickly and not be stuck in appeals and accusations and everything else. You kind of stole my words right out of my mouth, man. Like, you got to remember, we are the United States of America. We can get through anything. We've gotten through so much already in our short history that we have been a nation, right? So remember that. Remember, love thy neighbor, you know? Who cares who fucking votes for who? I don't give a shit. Rick says this every fucking week. We gotta be united. The three of us here have three complete, and Josh, who is, I don't know, I guess with Kanye West or something, I don't know. But Yeezy. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Yeezy.
I mean,
Yeezy.
all four of us have widely different political views. But at the end of the day, we still come together each week and we give you an hour and 39-minute podcast. So just like Josh says, be good people, man, and just continue to respect each other, man. We'll get through it.
So my final words, just to start it off, I want to point out how fucking happy I will be that this election is fucking over.
Yes.
Because I am so tired of seeing everything and feeling that divisiveness that we keep talking about. I'm so happy that we can come through at the end of this and say, hey, we're still here. We're still human beings. And I think that's the biggest thing for me. I hope that everybody voted, especially locally, for what's in the best interest of their family. And I really hope that after this election, we still continue the conversation that was started this summer. I think that equality and this pandemic are the two biggest problems that we have to tackle right now. And really hope that whatever administration comes in, they continue that and just push towards something. So at the end of the day, I love you guys, and we don't have to agree. You can call me a liberal Nazi. I like that. It's funny.
That makes no
when you guys
sense
get all crazy on
whatsoever.
me.
Yeah,
But okay.
Duper
Actually,
called us, didn't he call us like liberal neo something? Like
Mm-mm.
he was really mad with us last week.
Mm.
Duper got really mad. I wish you guys could hear or read the text because we actually get very
There's
passionate,
many
and it's
things
fun.
that Duper calls us, but when he makes fun of us, it makes sense. It's not liberal.
He called me.
Nazi.
Where did I come up with liberal Nazi?
Like I mean, if you said fascist Nazi, okay, then that makes more sense than a liberal Nazi.
Well, the Italians were fascist.
Yeah.
The
Italians were fascist, and then the Nazis were socialist.
Yeah.
Oh God! See, so he would have said liberal Nazi. They were socialist.
They were socialist, but your neo-Nazis are fascist, and they kind of tend more on the right. So it's very complicated. They're kind of outside the spectrum.
Oh
of
my
normal
God! We're at
politics.
an hour and 45
Either way,
minutes. All I care about is that we take care of
America. Don't fall into one of those groups. All right, there you go.
Oh shit! There goes the mic.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. You fucking dick, dude.
Let's try and get one more out.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Rub it out, buddy. Just rub it out.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to the show today. Please go to takewarningpod.com where you can explore additional content on the podcast, as well as find the links to the podcast on your favorite podcast platforms. Also, please get on social media. We are on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Take Warning. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you like about the show, what your thoughts are on the show, and what you would like to see on a future podcast.